My name's Michael McFarland, and the best way that I've figured out to describe my music so far is anthemic indie rock. I grew up in Kent. My father was a professor at Kent State, and so I was kind of a faculty brat, but I've lived all over. I lived in Summit County for a while, I moved to North Carolina for a bit, and now I live in Cleveland. As far as the inspiration to write music, music for me growing up was always kind of what helped me out in like the lonely or darker times in my life. I was a homeschooled kid, so while I had friends, I didn't have like a big circle of people that I was spending time around outside of my family. And I, spent a lot of my days by myself, and so I found a lot of solace in music. And when I discovered that, I can write this stuff, well, that's pretty cool. The idea that I might be able to provide some of that for other people. I learn my songs by recording them for the most part. Right behind me over here is my recording studio, and usually I'll write a chorus and a first verse just with like an acoustic guitar or on a piano, and then I'll immediately take it to the studio, and while I'm building the soundscape around it and arranging and all of that, I'll write the rest of the lyrics. And so as I'm writing and recording the parts, I'm learning them. So in a lot of cases, I can go right out from the studio onto a stage and be ready to perform it because I've just played the guitar parts 10 times to get that right take. And I've sung the vocals a dozen times to get them where I'm happy with them. I have two primary ways that I perform. One is by myself, acoustic guitar, loop pedal, and I build the songs by beatboxing, using the body of my guitar for percussion, and looping harmonies and things like that in the background to build up the sort of live backing track. So I do all that on stage. It's of course very different when I'm playing with a full band. I've got a backing band called the Messmakers. So when it's a Michael McFarland and the Messmakers show, we rehearse things, and fortunately all the guys that I work with are, complete pros, and so I'll send them a recording, they'll show up at practice already knowing how to play all the parts, and it's just a matter of like, what if we do this here to emphasize that, or like, we could add in this that's different from the recording to make the live version of this a little bit more interesting. And obviously I'm not playing out the same way that I used to. This time last year, I would have been doing 3 or 4 shows a week all around Northeast Ohio, Western Pennsylvania. I think last year in total I played 90 shows. So almost 2 a week, and summer into fall was the busy season. A lot of that, of course, has gone away, and figuring out how to take the performance and put it into a virtual setting has been a challenge that so many of us musicians have been figuring out. I'm fortunate to have all the sound equipment that I could possibly need just around the corner from where I'm sitting here, and that's a blessing and a curse, because it meant that when things first started shutting down, I knew that I had the technology to get a really professional quality live stream, which also meant that I wasn't just going to set up a camera and start playing and like reach out to people. So I spent a good month and a half figuring out what was going to get the sound that I wanted for live streaming. So I kind of disappeared from the performance scene for the first month and a half or so of the lockdowns. But since then, I've sort of really dialed things in on the live streaming version of things, and some outdoor concerts came back over the summer, so I was playing out around some of the spots that have good patios in Northeast Ohio. But it's going to be really interesting seeing as things get cooler, as those patios start to shut down, what the next phase of performance looks like. And I'll be finding out with an indoor, socially distanced, mask mandatory performance on the 24th at the Winchester in Lakewood to celebrate the release of my new record. So we'll see how it all goes. I like to keep a lot of different irons in the fire at any given time. I run a board game company, an apparel company. Musically, I run Spontaneously Combustible Studio, which I'm producing 5 different artists right now, working on their new records. What else? I do large-scale installation artwork, working a lot with Ingenuity Cleveland and helping build art for Ingenuity Festival and Bright Winter Festival. I do two-dimensional, the black and white portraiture artwork, a lot of pop culture stuff, and just kind of dabble in a lot of different things. I don't deal well with downtime, so if I don't have a project I'm working on, I'll come up with one. The big thing that I'm focusing on right now is that I've got a new EP coming out on October 23rd. It's called Through This Fire, and it was almost entirely written and recorded during this pandemic, so there's a lot of very topical songs that are focused on the emotions that a lot of us have experienced during the lockdown, wondering when we'll be able to get back to what the old world was, or if we ever will, and what that's going to look like. So the first single from that album is already out. It's called More Than You Believe You Are. The second single is coming out on October 9th. It's called The New Contagion. And I've got music videos in the works for 2 other songs that are on the record. One for a song called End of the World, and another for the song Invincible. So I've got a lot of pieces that I'm working on that go along with this new record. So the easiest place to find out all of my stuff is heading to michaelmcfarlandmusic.com. It's got links to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, any other Instagram, any other social media sites that will have arisen since we started this interview, because I'm pretty sure there's a new one every other week. But yeah, michaelmcfarlandmusic.com, or you can just search for Michael McFarland Music on Facebook or YouTube or any of those. I should be the one that pops up.